Hey guys, it's your girl Ivy again. We're just gonna go ahead and work on another deck construction video here. Again, it's another Commander deck because honestly, Commander is my favorite format, and it's if you only need one of something for a deck, it gives you opportunity to make some interesting mixes and matches and stuff. So let's just jump right into it then. The Commander is going to be Coma, Cosmos, Serpent. The reason I chose this commander is because it has a lot of variation and potential. So basically, when you cast it, of course, it can't be countered, which is great. It does cost 7 mana, so having your commander countered is not very much fun. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. Now, what you can do with the serpent is that you can sacrifice it, and you can tap a target a permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or it looks like you can go ahead and that serpent, this creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So really the best part of this is the fact that if you have at least a serpent on the battlefield, you can gain more control over the other players in terms of what they can do or what they can do to you, or just kind of really affect the game. And this guy's hard to kill. If you make him indestructible, and then of course, he can't be countered. So there's a high probability you can get your commander out and at least try to keep him out as long as you want to, start making serpent tokens. So let's go ahead and jump into the other 99 and see what we've got in store for this one. So we're gonna hit the legendary creatures first. This one is really a must-have. So what the purpose of having Sakashima of 1,000 Faces is, really you want to copy your commander. Now you can copy other cards in the deck, but with Sakashima, it basically shuts down the legend rule. So you're not basically doubling a legendary creature and then causing them both to disappear, or at least get rid of one of them. So what you're doing is you can copy Koma, so then you can make double the amount of serpents every upkeep. So let's read the commander one more time. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. So if you have Koma out, but you also have Sakashima out, well, then you would get 2 of those serpents for each other player's upkeep. So if you can follow where I'm going with this, by the time it rotates back to you, you now have what is that, 8 serpents, including your upkeep. So you can see where that comes into play. It's a really great card. Next one we have, I like to put this guy in a lot of my decks with blue. He always gets in, so it's a free card draw when you swing in with this guy. You can see that, he swings and he deals the damage, but you get a card draw from that. Again, horsemanship, it's unlikely people are going to have things to block. There's guaranteed to be one player that doesn't have anything to block horsemanship, but most of the time, all 3 other opponents usually don't have anything to block this. Next, we've got Zamone, Quandrix Prodigy. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield for 1 and a tap. You can pay 4 to draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, you can draw 2 cards instead. So it only comes out for 2, but you can see that it has ramp built in. So not only do you get the creature, but you also get the ramp built in. So I think that was a great card to add. The next one is incredible in this deck. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't, cast the reveal card, put it in your hand. But you see where this is going? Like, you reveal a land, you get it in your hand. Or if you reveal a spell and its converted mana cost is less, you can go ahead and just put it out. It's pretty good. Next we got is going to be Arix Menthes Slumbering Isle. It enters the battlefield tapped with 5 counters on it. As long as it has a counter on it, it still lands. So you can tap it and get the 2, the blue and the green off of it. Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from the card. So eventually, for 4, it's kind of like I'm going to suspend card, but this is what suspend should really look like, because you can still get mana out of it until it actually turns into a 12/12 after you've cast the spell. So I like this card a lot. I think it should definitely be in this type of deck. Next we got is it's kind of an optional ad, so I threw in a god. It's on the color theme, so I figured, it's an indestructible. It's not going to go anywhere unless, somebody finds a way to get you to sacrifice it. As long as your devotion to green and blue is less than 7, Cruffix isn't a creature. Of course, you want to have no maximum hand size. And of course, you have mana at the end of your turn that you didn't use. It becomes colorless. So you can tap all your stuff if you want to. And of course, go ahead and save it for later kind of thing. Good for, instead of, if you have nothing to play that turn, and you have a high cost card, next turn you can play it. We've got Kinnan Bonder Prodigy. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. Now for 7, I can look at the top 5 cards in my library. I can put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So if there's any creatures and you pay for that while it comes out, if it's only 2, it's a 2 cost, so it can come out on turn 2. And I thought, it wouldn't hurt to have something like this in there just to give it some options. Next we have this guy. He's not banned in Commander yet, as far as I know. So he might, but you never know. Apparently he's banned in a couple other formats. So Uro enters the battlefield. You sacrifice it unless it escapes. Now when it does ETB or it attacks, you can gain 3 life and draw a card. So that's always helpful. Then you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. So when it ETBs, you'll get those 3 things. And then of course it'll have to go to your graveyard. But you can escape it. And then, of course, he comes back again, does the same thing again. So, it's got its uses. It can come back twice. So, I don't understand why people are so up in arms about this card. But I guess it could be abused in different ways to get him in and out and stuff. So, I get it. It's kind of cool. You can bounce him in, bounce him in your hand, and so forth. So, I can see why it might get kind of abused. Next card we got is Tetyoba, Benthic Druid. It's a legendary creature, Merfolk Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life and you draw a card. Really good stuff. Next we have is going to be Amadi, Celebrant of Bounty. It's got Cascade on it. Spells you cast with converted mana cost 6 or greater have Cascade. So your commander is a 6 or cost greater card. So if you cast your commander in, then you can go ahead and Cascade. So I think that was a really cool little add. Next one we're going to hit is going to be Prime Speaker Vannifar. You can sacrifice another creature. So in this case, you'll probably be sacrificing a Serpent. You can search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Actually, Serpents, since they're tokens, wouldn't have a converted mana cost, but you can kind of see where this is going. If you have something that's a lesser creature and you want to go ahead and tutor for something better and swap it out and put it on the battlefield, you can kind of see where this goes. So it does open up some interesting avenues for possibilities of stuff you can do. Next card we're going to use is going to be Rasta, the Endless Web. It has reach. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. It's very good against people with flyers, or again, if you have a player that's running a lot of instants and sorceries in their deck, it's going to start creating tokens like crazy with reach. So only thing that would be better is if they had Death Touch, but you know what? I'll take it. It's still pretty good. Good to have flying, blockers that can block flying. This guy, I think it's a reprint of a Portal 3 Kingdoms card. It allows you to put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. And of course, if something falls in there that you really want back, then he gets you a way to get it back out of the graveyard. So I like the idea of him. A little bit of an ad there. I've got Yeva, Nature's Herald. It has flash, so you can play it on, obviously other people's turns. You may cast green creature cards as though they had flash. So a lot of these are dual color or green. Maybe a couple blue things in here, but it still gives you opportunity if you have extra mana, on other people's turns. You can go ahead and start casting stuff that might be beneficial. Next we've got Azusa, Lost but Seeking. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. So very useful for 3. That's pretty amazing, really. You pay your first land. If you have 2 more lands in your hand, you can play all those. You get 3 lands in one turn. So that's a good way to ramp. Next card we got is Garuk's Pack Leader. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under control, you may draw a card. So Well, you notice what the serpents are, right? They're 3/3 serpents. So every time they come in, see what I'm saying? You're going to get to draw a card. So that happens on each other person's turn. So it's kind of like having a Rhystic Study in this deck without having a Rhystic Study, you know. So I think it's really super useful to have a card like this in there. Next one we got is Oran Frostfang. All your attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, you can draw a card. So again, you can attack with serpents if you want and give them Death Touch, or you can go ahead and do a lot of things with this card and kind of see the options it gives to you. Death Touch is a really good feature because anything that blocks that is gonna kill it, except for, I guess, indestructible stuff. This creature has Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can create a token that's a copy of the giant Adaphage. And again, it's token. The keyword there is token, because token generation is pretty much one of the key components of this deck, obviously. You want to generate more tokens. Next we got is Spark Double. Now, if you read the text of Spark Double, it works a lot like Sakashima, that you can copy a creature. Of course, you get the +1/+1 counter on it. You can also copy a Planeswalker, it looks like, as well. So you want to be copying your Serpent. So for Koma over there, you want to copy the Commander Koma. So that, I mean, in theory, if you had a Sakashima, a Spark Double, see where I'm going with this? You get 3 Serpents for every single person's upkeep. Amazing. Very, very useful if you can get the 3 cards. Next one we're going to have is going to be Finned Horned Elves. It's just a, a mana generation thing. Obviously gets you some forest mana. Beast Whisperer, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So a lot of creatures in here, you get to draw a card. Birds of Paradise, I think you know what it does. Seedborn Muse, untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. You remember I put Yeva in there? Well, that's a good synergy to have, because if she untaps all your permanents on other people's turns, you see where that's going? If you have a full grip of cards in your hand, if you can just play them with Flash, and this happens every single turn, so yeah, you're going to be able to pretty much fill up your board very quickly. Oracle of Moldea, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. You can reveal the top card of your library. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. So it's a good way to get lands out of your library that you don't need. You know there's a land coming, you just pull it and put it into play. Really helpful. Next one we got is you can give all your serpents and all your creatures flying. Creatures your opponents control lose flying and can't have or gain flying. So really good card to have to get rid of flyers, get them on the ground, and give all your stuff the ability to fly over everybody else's stuff. So it really is like a game winner. Next we got Serpent of the Yawning Depths. Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and keyword serpents, because you're making serpents from the commander. They can't be blocked, so they're all unblockable, except by those creature types. So honestly, the likelihood you're going to encounter those specific creature types in a 4-player commander pod game, not too likely someone's going to have it, unless they're playing another Coma deck, or somebody's got, like, I don't know, I think there's an Octopus or Kraken deck or something. Not going to be very common, though, so you'll probably be able to use that quite frequently. Balos, Rampaging Balos, it basically is a landfall. You saw a lot of land entry into battlefield type cards, so the big deal with this is it creates tokens. You just basically start pumping out 4/4 green beast tokens, so it gives you extra, ground power and so on. Next one we got is Spawning Kraken. We'll just jump to Serpent. We don't care about the other ones. But Serpent you control deals combat damage to a player. Create a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token. That's so broken. So you start pumping out serpents. You just flood people with serpents. And you trade maybe they kill some of them, but you trade some of them for Krakens. 9/9 Krakens. This is a great card. It's an incredibly good card. Next one we have, now we're going to hit the Planeswalkers. He's not banned in Commander yet, but sure, why not? Let's just create a food token. I could always just +1 them and turn someone's commander into a 3/3 elk. Granted, they could block with the elk and make it go back to their command zone, but see where this is going. You can use him to really mess up other people's game pretty good. I suppose you could do his -3 as well, but I imagine his +1 is going to be a lot of work. I mean, he's a good card. Next we're going to do, we got Nissa, who shakes the world. Whenever you tip a forest for mana, you can add an additional forest. You put 3 +1/+1 counters on target non-creature land you control and tap it. It becomes a elemental creature with vigilance and haste. If you can get her up to 8, lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards and put them on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So massive super ramp. If you can, with all the serpents out though, I mean, there's a high probability you can keep her on the field. You know, you might be able to get away with that, just getting all your lands out if, you know, you got plenty enough blockers and you got Death Touch, Reach, Snakes, and whatnot. So, with Vivian, you can look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library, so you can see where that's going. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Put your choice of vigilance, reach, and or trample counter on it. So obviously you can put out a beast. That's helpful, of course, especially if you're making tokens. There's going to be some token duplication here. When you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost. Put that into the battlefield. So you're getting 2 for 1. You're getting like a BOGO deal there for 2 different creatures when you cast one. If you use the -2, obviously. Next one is really a defense card. Your opponents can't cast spells that target a creature or planeswalker you control. So it makes it harder for them to target, let's say, things and get them out of the battlefield. Very helpful. Next one we've got is this one, Garuk. Again, it's more about creating tokens. It's got some card draw on it. That's really helpful. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Some of those creatures, at minimum, let's just say you have a Serpent out, you get 3 cards. So it's very helpful in Commander. It's a great card. Now we're going to hit up some of the instants, enchantments, all that good stuff. So this is the enchantment row. This is really a must-add in this deck. So you can enchant yourself, basically, to give yourself an additional upkeep. So during your upkeep, remember you're creating a Serpent. Well, now you're creating 2 of those on your upkeep. So you automatically get the second one. Just another kind of lockdown card. It just taps enchant a creature, and then you scry 2. I thought it was kind of neat. That creature won't untap during its controller's untap step. So anything that's kind of big creature-y, causing you some trouble, well, you can go ahead and get rid of it with this. So kind of tap it down. Next we got is asceticism. All your creatures on board are hexproof. Yeah, that's really useful. Plus you can regenerate something when it goes to the graveyard. Very helpful card. Next we got exploration. You can play an additional land on each of your turns. So you can see this is going to get major ramp out. So the idea is to try to get your commander out as quickly as possible so you can start manufacturing Serpent tokens. Next we got doubling season. I'm not going to go into this. I think everybody knows what doubling season does. You get double tokens, so it's pretty obvious. This one's a new ad. I like this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. So it's basically a free spell. It just goes out into the battlefield. And of course, if you don't, you can scry 1. So it's really super good. Next we got is Bounty of Luxa. You can add or remove flood counters on it. You can use it for card draw or mana generation. So you can generate 3 mana there, like 1 colorless and one green blue. Or you can use it to get some card draw. So I thought this was a really good ad for this deck because, again, lots of card draw, lots of mana generation. Defense, propaganda, you just use it to make people have to pay 2 to attack you. So it really makes it really hard to get rid of you from off the battlefield. Cryptolith Rite. You're using, again, your creatures. You can use your serpents if you want to go ahead and generate any color mana you want. So, awesome card in this deck. Okay, so we're going to, these instants, we got, for each token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. So, if you have 4 serpents out from 1 rotation, you play this card, now you have 8 serpents out in play because you just doubled them all. That's just amazing. Next we've got, it's going to be Momentous Fall. You can draw cards equal to sacrifice creature power, and then you gain life equal to its toughness. So You can sacrifice one of your serpents to at least get 3 card draw off of this, or maybe some other creature, 9/9 Kraken or Octopus or something. I think it was a Kraken, so you get 9 cards. Just insane amounts of card draw in this deck. So next we're going to check out, we've got Druid's Deliverance. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to you this turn, plus you can populate one of your tokens. So if somebody, tries to do something really crazy, well, you have a little bit of a, like a bubble shield there going on. Plus, you get to create an extra token. Really useful. This one's going to be Growth Spiral. You can draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand in the battlefield. Low cost. So it's a quick, like if it comes this, you have this card in your hand, like turn 2 or something, or 3. At least you get some card draw, and then you can get a little bit of ramp into the battlefield. Next we got is Full Flowering. You can drop a lot of mana into XX, and then you can populate your tokens. So just continue to create more and more and more tokens. Very useful in this deck. Whirlwind. Destroy all flight creatures with flying. Probably not going to have a lot of creatures with flying. There are a couple in this deck, and of course you have the card that gives them all flying. So, obviously you don't want to kill your guys when that enchantment's out, or that creature, excuse me. But if most of your serpents are all on the ground anyway, so if any flyers are out there, you can get them array. You can get rid of them, obviously, get them off the battlefield with this sort of flying board wipe. So I thought it was kind of cool. Next we've got is Whelming Wave. Return all creatures to their owner's hands except for Krakens, serpents, basically. So you can kind of see where that's going. It's kind of like a Cyclonic Rift for 4. Because all your guys are pretty much serpents. I mean, granted, you might have some other things out, but if you want to go in for the win and you have like 12 serpents out and you do things to them, well, you want to play this card because then you can, everybody's field's going to be open unless they're playing serpents, which probably not. Next card is going to be Harmonize. You know what it does. It draws 3 cards. These are just mana ramp cards. So I may take them out. We'll see how much ramp I actually need here. So, Cultivate, you can go get mana. It's designed to thin out your deck so you can get to better cards. So, search your library for Forests. It's 3 visits. And then, of course, Far Seek. You can see it gets you a card. Swamp, Mountain, whatever. I'm probably going to go after the island, obviously. Anyway, next card we're going to do is going to be Helm of the Host. At the beginning of combat, on each of your turn, you create a token that's a copy of equipped creature. Except the token isn't legendary. So every single turn you equip this equipment to Coma, you're going to make another Coma. So every time it comes back to your turn, another Coma Coiling Serpent comes out. So it's like you're just creating more, and you're manufacturing your commander, and it isn't legendary, so the legend rule doesn't come into play. And you do that with Shakashima, and you can just keep boom, 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 making just incredible amounts of serpent tokens and pretty much locking down the entire battlefield. Very useful. Next card we got is going to be Lightninggreaves. I'm sure you guys know what it does. Now we're getting some mana rocks and some other stuff. So we got Star Compass. Again, it's for, it's just mana generation. It's mana rock. Got a Soul Ring. You know what that is. A Thran Dynamo. A Chromatic Star. You can kind of see what that does. A Chroma's Memorial. I like to put this in every single deck because it can be a game winner. I've won games with a Chroma's Memorial, so it's really super good. Next we're going to have is the Great Henge. You can see what it does. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under control, you can put a counter on it and draw a card. It also has a mana generation, and you can see how this could end up becoming very useful. It definitely has its uses. Next card we have is Idol of Oblivion. You can tap it to draw a card, which is really good. You're going to be creating a lot of tokens. You're obviously creating a token at the beginning of your turn, so you can just tap it to draw a card. It's so, so good. And then, of course, you can sacrifice if you want and get the Eldrazi, I guess, if you want that, but yeah. Next card we're going to do is this one, Arcane Signet. It's in most Commander decks, I guess, at this point, because it's almost like a staple. Now, we're almost done, so we're going to hit up some non-basic lands. You know what? I'm going to say it again. This card, it should be in every single deck because 4 colorless mana, just automatic free ramp on a land. So, yeah, you sacrifice 2 lands, so what? You're getting 4 colorless. Most of your stuff is going to be 2 plus X amount of colorless. So, very, very useful to have a land that you can tap for 4 colorless mana. So good. It's always been good since like back in the day. Lit Jara. The reason I put this card in here is because of its bottom ability. You can sacrifice it and create a copy of target creature control, except it enters the battlefield with an additional counter. So again, you can copy, for example, if you do have the copied or if you have Sakashima out, you can copy Sakashima with this. And then you have another Serp. Do you see where I'm going with that? Target creature you control, Sakashima, or was it Spark Double? You can copy that. Not the Serpent, I don't think, but you can copy the copy, because the copy isn't legendary. Do you see what I'm saying? And then you can use the land to make another copy. Fabled Passage. I think you know what it does. Simic Growth Chamber. I think you know what it does. This is a really good one. Path of Ancestry, of course. You get stuff from, based on your commander's colors. So, very useful. Or if it shares a creature type, whatever. Opal Palace. Again, it's related to commander, so based on your commander's colors. We've got Yavimaya Coast. Hinterland Harbor. I'm not even going to get into a command tower. I think you know what it does. Rogue's Passage. Gets one of your guys through unblocked. This is basically you sack it and crack it and go get a couple of basic lands. Exotic Orchard. A pathway. It's a blue-black pathway, so you can drop it for either side. Rejuvenating Springs, really good to have, of course, because you're always going to have more than one opponent if you're playing Commander. Breeding Pool, it's just a shock lamb. Ash Barrens, gives you some land cycling if you want to use it for that. This we got is Gargoyle Castle. Creates a token, so if you have token duplication, you can get 2 instead of just the 1, so I thought it would be neat in there. And then last we have is Waterlogged Grove. Alright, that should do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck construction of Koma, the Cosmos Serpent. Tell me what you think, guys. Tell me some more ways I can, pump out the tokens a little better and faster. I do know about Parallel Lives. I'm just running it in a different deck right now. So, yeah, if I could add Parallel Lives in here, I would do that too. But, I'm kind of sacrificing just so many cards for different decks right now. But I do know that that can go in there as well. But, yeah, if you guys like this deck and would like to go ahead and give me some suggestions of stuff I can add, or just please like my videos and subscribe to my channel. It's been really good doing these, and I have a lot of fun playing Magic, and, hopefully you do too. And you'll see me and hear from me again as I make more of these kinds of videos and open up more boxes and do things. So, all right, until next time, the Night Phoenix rides again. Bye now.